Good evening, you're watching Estuary TV News. Coming up, we find out what good work is being done on the East Marsh hours before Channel 4 broadcasts the Skint documentary. And we go to a sanctuary near Skegness, which deals with exotic animals. And joining me in the studio is Richard Fell, a fundraiser for cardiac risk in the young. Welcome to Estuary TV News. I'm Hugh Richards. First of all, over to Richard Morris for the news headlines.
Hello, in the headlines today, hospital staff have staged a walkout in Grimsby Hospital and a launch of Anti-Terror Week, a national scheme to help reduce the threat from terrorism all over the country. Hospital staff from across the region went on strike today because of an ongoing dispute over pay. Unions are fighting for a 1% across-the-board increase, while the government want to withhold it from some staff who get some incremental pay rises. As a result, staff from various departments, including midwives and radiographers, took part in a 4-hour walkout starting at 7 a.m. this morning. It's thought there could be another next month, and staff are now working to rule, which many think could have a huge impact on hospitals.
Yeah, I mean, our nurses and NHS staff, porters, cleaners, you can see them all out here today, they work extra hours with goodwill. They put that loyalty and commitment into the NHS. Now, it's very difficult for them to walk away from a job when they're doing it, but we're asking them to do that to show how much they put in unpaid overtime and actually to take their breaks. If you look at the staff who've gone out to Sierra Leone, for instance, volunteer to go out there on their own time, that's commitment and loyalty that the NHS staff show.
This week is Counter-Terrorism Awareness Week, a scheme run nationally which aims to help reduce the threat from terrorism across the UK. The week coincides with the UK government introducing a new anti-terror bill on Wednesday. Whilst there aren't any local threats, local forces, including Humberside Police, are holding events to help raise awareness over the problem.
Intelligence, information about terrorist activity often comes from a member of the public, somebody who just sees something untoward in their community, in their neighbourhood, in the area they work, and that is a key piece of information that the security services and the police can work with. So it is just as likely that a terrorist attack will be thwarted by a member of the public, somebody out there just reporting something, just as likely that it will be done in that way as it will by the police or the security services finding something.
That's all from me for now, and I'll be back with more news soon. If you have any news for us in the meantime, then don't hesitate to contact us on Grimsby 31553. Bye for now.
Thank you, Richard. Now, as we head into the festive period, people may well consider buying an animal as a gift. Many will be exotic animals such as snakes, lizards and spiders. And sadly for many of them, they will be abandoned when they grow above and beyond the size their owners expected. Reporter Dan Kemp went to hear about one local team of volunteers in Lincolnshire who are trying to stop what for some animals is the sting in the Christmas tale.
It's a preconceived idea that having an exotic pet will be easy to manage and can be a bit of an accessory. But one company in Burland Marsh near Skegness is there for when owners just can't cope with what they've let themselves in for.
We set it up after we had some problems with some parrots and they got rescued and we rehomed them with us. For example, one of our birds that we've got here, Mickey, he came from quite a sad background where he wasn't being cared for properly, and it was down to the owners not knowing how to care for a parrot. He's actually a macaw, so it's down to the owners not knowing how to care for a macaw parrot in the correct way.
And the happiness of the animal is paramount. As we approach the Christmas period, exotic animals will once again be on people's wish lists, but every year many of them are taken into homes without the correct knowledge of their needs.
There's a lot of animals out there that need homes, and if you're serious about getting an animal, do your research, find out exactly what is involved with that animal, find out what health needs they are, do a lot of research before you actually buy the pet. And also there is lots of rescue centres out there that have the pets that need new homes, and it would be nice for a rehomed animal to have a nice home for Christmas.
The most frequent visitors are the bearded dragons. Native to Australia's deserts and woodlands, they are now becoming more common in living rooms.
They are probably one of our most popular pets that's handing in. And I think it comes from people see these nice tiny little bearded dragons when they go to the pet shop and they get a small viv and it costs them like 80 to £100 and they go home happy. And what they're not being told is in, say, like 3 months, they've got a bigger bearded dragon that's outgrown its last tank, and then they've got to pay £150 for the next tank, and then the same again in a year's time. So I think people they're becoming like the disposable pet. So people are finding that it's easier to rehome their pet rather than pay the extra money to keep rehousing them.
And of course, the most important thing is for the animals to be rehomed in a safe place. And they help with that too.
Well, we talk to the new owners, we tell them, we give them all the education they need. They're able to come back to us at any time and ask for advice from us. And obviously our doors are always open to anyone that's ever been rehomed.
And that was Dan Kemp at Burle Marsh. You're watching Estuary TV News. Coming up, the Bishop of Grimsby joins us for reflections.
It's one of the occupational hazards of bishops that you find yourself attending lots of church services. Some good, some bad, some somewhere in between.
And join Dan Kemp a little later for all the sports. Joining me now in the studio is Richard Fell. His son Joshua was out playing football one day when he suffered a cardiac arrest and died. At the time, it wasn't realised Joshua may be more susceptible to these things, as heart screening is currently unavailable on the NHS in our region. But now Richard has turned campaigner and he joins me in the studio. Richard, many thanks for coming along.
Right.
First of all, I'm very sorry about your son's death. How old was he when he died, and when did he die?
He was 15 and it was June 2011.
And this condition, he was out playing football. Was it the exercise? Was it the exertion that harmed him in some way?
Nobody really knows. He just went out playing football like he normally did. Said he felt tired, sat down while his two friends carried on playing football, and he passed away while they were playing football. There was no warning signs, no symptoms or anything. We knew nothing about it.
And was there, after his death, was there an investigation of some form to find out what it is that had caused it?
Yeah. His heart went down to the Royal Brompton in London, but they couldn't pinpoint what exactly it was. So they've used the umbrella term SADS, sudden arrhythmic death syndrome. There's different. I am medically trained, but there's some different terms under the umbrella term, if you know what I mean, which it could have been, but we personally don't actually know which one it was.
So the possibility that there was something electrical, as it were, wrong.
Yes.
The heart runs on an electric current, as it
Yep.
were, and that might have been it.
Yeah.
And Joshua, 15-year-old, and a footballer, he was a fit young man. Was there no sign before, no sign that he was at risk?
No, none whatsoever. He had no symptoms whatsoever. We just thought he was a typical 15-year-old boy going out to play football or whatever sport he did at school, but sadly, we just didn't know about it.
Now, there is a possibility of a way of predicting this or of diagnosing this, or even though there are no symptoms, if you do a particular set of tests.
Yeah, and have a simple ECG test, 30 seconds, that's all it takes.
And the NHS doesn't offer this test?
No, they don't, sadly no.
Why not, and what can you do about that?
I think it probably boils down to cost. But we and CRY keep trying to raise awareness of these hidden conditions. In 80% of cases, there isn't any symptoms. Now, we think it should be have an ECG at secondary school when you're 14, like you do with your jabs.
And you're lobbying politicians to try to make this available on the NHS?
Yeah, this week, yeah, there's a CRY reception which me and my wife are going down to in London at Westminster.
The Houses of Parliament?
Houses of Parliament, yep. And MPs are invited to come along and see what CRY does and the hard, exceptional work that they do in trying to understand why these conditions happen.
And CRY, it's cardiac risk in youth.
In the young.
In the young.
In the young, yeah.
How long's charity been going?
Since 1996, so it's been going a long while.
And is it just in our region, or is it a national charity?
It's a national charity. They're based in Surrey, but they'll go all over the country doing their ECG tests, screenings.
Well, that's what I was going to ask. So what happens? CRY has a mobile a unit, as it were.
Yeah, they have a mobile unit where all the ECG machines are all in the unit, all the equipment they need. The ECG team come along, CRI's team come along with a doctor and an echocardiogram machine. You book an appointment to come along between the ages of 14 and 35, and then you have your ECG. The doctor reads the ECG. He can either refer you, or if there's something wrong, or it might be just a false reading, but it's better to have it than not.
Better safe than sorry,
Yeah.
I guess.
Yeah, absolutely, yeah.
So that's a staff there, there's a unit, there's machinery, of course, the ECG machine itself, a doctor, presumably other medical staff there as well.
Yeah.
That's expensive.
It is. It costs £7,000 for the 2 days. It's £35 a person if you break it down.
And do people pay to have this check, or is it all paid for by the charity?
No, the charity pay for it, as my wife and my daughters. We raise money along with other people in the family and who've heard about Josh's story. And we pay for it to come locally to our local school where Josh used to go to.
And how are you raising money? I know you've got a few events coming up.
Well, every year we hold an ex-Tigers charity football match and family fun day, which is ex-Hull City players and the lads from our work. We have a team and friends and people who've come on board since hearing about Josh. We raise money that way. Hull City Official Supporters Club have just released a charity band, which you can buy on their from their website, which is helping raise awareness and funds. And there's a charity football match on the 28th of December at the Airco Arena at 11 o'clock, which...
Just where's that arena, the Airco?
The Airco Arena near Casey Stadium, just off the Walton Street,
right.
near where the Hull Fair is.
In Hull,
yeah. And people can come along to that. I think there's a mini raffle, little things like that going on during the day.
Is there a website people can go to get in touch?
For
CRY?
CRY, yeah. It's if you just type in CRY or cardiac risk in the young on your Google search, and it'll bring everything up you need to know, who to contact if anything happens in your own family.
Just want to emphasise it's a terrifying prospect, the idea that a young person's heart can suddenly give out for absolutely no reason whatsoever. Is there any reason to panic? Is there anything that might make us worry?
Hopefully not. We don't like to scare people, but some of the symptoms are blackouts. But if you had one blackout, like I said, I'm not a medical person, but if you started to have a lot of blackouts, I'd probably go to the doctor. Even if it's nothing, it's better than not having it done.
And the chances are that if you have a healthy lifestyle, you're going to have a more healthy heart. Would that be right?
It doesn't always happen in cases, because Fabrice Mwamba was a prime example. It happened to him, and he's a professional football player, so you can never be too careful.
Richard, thank you so much for coming along and telling us Josh's story, and very good luck with those events that you have coming along.
Thank you.
Thank you very much, Richard. When the Channel 4 documentary Skint came to the Westcliff in Scunthorpe, it caused uproar among the residents there. And when it was announced Grimsby would be next, a campaign to stop it was backed by many people. But it's being aired tonight, Monday, and we sent Dave Nunn to the East Marsh to find out people's feelings towards it.
Grimsby is often at the butt of many a national joke. A national newspaper recently named the East Marsh as the worst place to live in the country. Now Channel 4's Skint documentary is coming to the area, and proud people aren't happy at the East Marsh's representation.
To be honest, they will try and paint it in a bad light when this is an absolutely fantastic place to live. I've lived here for 37 years. Before that, I spent the rest of my life in the West Marsh. And to be honest, I wouldn't want to live anywhere else.
The area is bereft with many problems. One of these stems from low education, with up to 40% of the adult residents having no qualifications, according to a 2008 report by the Department for Children, Schools and Families.
Some of the people I've seen on there already are not always in the best place to actually make appropriate decisions to realise what they're letting themselves in for. I anticipate there'll be a big fallout from this programme.
The East Marsh has also had problems with investment for years. Reports name places such as Guildford Street being in the most deprived 1% of sub-areas nationally.
If you look at statistics, the East Marsh is quite a deprived area. Statistics do say that, whichever way you look at them. It isn't one of the best areas in the country by far. It has a lot of social problems. this isn't necessarily the way to address those problems, though.
Elton John once sang, "England, you're fair, but nothing compares to my Grimsby." Enthusiasm about Grimsby needs injecting into places like the East Marsh.
Let's have a positive programme made about us. Because, to be honest, I'm not fed up with it because I will fight back all the time. I'm positive about the area and will come back fighting stronger.
Many people may use Skint to make up their own opinion of the East Marsh. The message from the people there, though, is that Skint looks at only one side of the coin, and the flip side is what people should really focus on.
And tomorrow evening, Steve Besant, Ward Councillor for the East Marsh, will be my guest to discuss his reaction to the show. And now it's over to the first in our new weekly feature, Reflections. And this week, it's the Right Reverend David Court, Bishop of Grimsby.
It's one of the occupational hazards of bishops that you find yourself attending lots of church services. Some good, some bad, some somewhere in between. Two from last week stand out for me. Last Monday down at Lincoln we celebrated St Hugh's Day, remembering the 12th century bishop who, amongst other things, devoted his life to the building of the cathedral that now dominates that city. The previous day I'd been at a service for what we know as St John's Ambulance, where certificates had been given out for 500, 750 and an incredible 1,000 hours of voluntary service in just 1 year. When I quickly did the maths and commented to the person receiving the 1,000 hour award that meant 20 hours a week, I was told in reality it was actually closer to 40. It was just that the certificates didn't go up that high. Lives lived well always impress me, challenge me as to what I'm achieving with mine. Am I living it well, or am I simply frittering it away? Do I know what it is that I want to achieve while I'm on this earth? Do I have a purpose? Or, as a friend of mine put it, am I just using up the earth's valuable resources? I didn't actually ask the person receiving the award what caused him to do it. I know for St Hugh it was his love for God and his service of others. But it leaves me with some questions. What is it that is motivating our lives? What is it we're actually trying to achieve? Will we be remembered well as making a difference? Or will we be amongst those who simply fritter our time away?
That was David Court, Bishop of Grimsby. Now, joining me in the studio is Erica Barker, who's been looking at the weekend's news. Erica.
I have.
What's been going on over the weekend?
Do you know what, Hugh? I'm going to start with a positive story.
Excellent, good news.
The positive story is Ryby Village now has improved internet speeds. Now, they were reaching the mark of about 0.2, but can now access speeds of around 15, thanks to a company called Quick Line Communications. There was a small mast has been put on the church roof, which improves internet speeds, not just for the church, but for the whole village. And the church say this is going to be brilliant for them because they want to be a community hub. And obviously for events and things in the technological age, you know, internet speeds are vital, aren't they?
It's better than a church notice board, isn't it, by the Lichgate?
It is definitely. So I think it's good for them, and they hope that this will help them advertise what it is they do and get the community involved and encourage them to hold events, really.
But presumably the village can get the rest of the internet
yes,
more quickly as well, can
yes,
it? It's
of course.
not just limited to village events.
It isn't, no, it isn't. I mean, it's fantastic for the whole village. I just think it's really, really good news. And obviously in this article, it is the church talking about how positive it is for them. But obviously, you know, it's great for everyone.
Excellent, very good. Technology.
Technology. Where would we be without it? Well, my next story then is figures reveal that almost 300,000 shoppers a week are visiting Grimsby's Freshney Place in the run-up to Christmas, which is good news. How's your Christmas shopping?
A third of a million people a week are going through Freshney Place. That's amazing, isn't it?
That is amazing. Yeah, it's brilliant news. There has been some talk, though, of shopkeepers feeling threatened by gangs of youngsters. I've been talking on social networking sites about this. I mean, it's a difficult one, isn't it? Obviously, you know, when youngsters do get together, they can form a little bit of a group, and sometimes it could possibly be intimidating.
They can seem a bit belligerent without really meaning to, though, can't they, sometimes?
Yes. I mean, it's not always an issue, and I'm sure that the police are always on hand, and that they would be there, you know, almost immediately if any problems arose. But obviously that can be an issue. But I think really what to take from this is how positive it will be for Grimsby that so many people are spending the money, really.
Well, any afternoon, if you go into Parishionary Place, it feels, certainly you know that a third of a million people are going through there. It sometimes feels rather more than that. It's an incredibly crowded set of galleries sometimes, isn't it? Shopping centre sometimes.
Yeah, it is.
But you'd have thought the security in there was fairly tight anyway, isn't it?
You would, yeah. I mean, I know when I walk around there that I do see security, and that I've never really seen groups of youngsters, but people are saying that they are, and that it is an issue.
Well, lots of people might be a good sign that the economy in Grimsby is recovering a little bit anyway.
No,
One other
definitely.
story, very quickly.
So just quickly then, I'll move on to Beverley. Now, Beverley have had major resurfacing work, and they've had 5-way traffic signals put up earlier this month, and businesses are basically saying that this is costing them money.
Excellent. Erica, thank you very much. There's lovely stories there. Now it's over to Dan Kemp with all this week's sports news.
And in sport, Hull City returned to Premier League action yesterday after the international break. The Tigers took the lead through an 8th-minute Jake Livermore strike against his former club, but goals from Harry Kane and an 89th-minute Christian Eriksen strike gave maximum points to the visitors. Scunthorpe United threw away a 2-goal lead at Crawley Town on Saturday. Paddy Madden and Lyle Taylor had given the Iron a 2-goal cushion before Dean Leacock and Isel McLeod penalty rescued the home side a point. Grimsby Town suffered a surprise home loss to mid-table Kidderminster Harriers in the conference. A goal 2 minutes into the first half and 4 into the second gave the 3 points to the visitors. But North Ferriby United had more fortune. They extended their unbeaten run to 7 games thanks to Nathan Jarman and Adam Boulder first half goals against Lowestoft Town. Back to Hull City, and they'll be without midfielder Gaston Ramirez for the next 3 games. The club have opted not to appeal against the decision made by referee Craig Pawson in the Spurs game after the onless Southampton man kicked out at Jan Vertonghen. He'll miss key games at Man United and Everton and at home to West Bromwich Albion. And finally, the Hull Stingrays defeated the Dundee Stars on Saturday evening. The Tigers entered the final period as peace, but Zach Avato and an empty net marker by Carl Lozon ensured victory for the Rays 5-3. They are now sitting 8th in the Elite League, and that's all for the sport.
That's Dan, that's all tonight. Tomorrow my guest will be Steve Besant with his reaction to that Channel 4 documentary skit. A couple of Facebook comments on that. Lawrence Vaughan says, it's of course awful and exploitative, but then there is an element of truth within. It should hopefully prompt the local council and government to start investing into a town that has long been forgotten. Contact us please on the usual ways. Email news@estuary.tv or contact us through social media via Twitter or Facebook, or pick up the phone and call 01472 31 5561. Till tomorrow, goodbye.